Okay, so I want to thank you all for attending. So give yourselves a round of applause for being here, being engaged, and being active. So I know we're off to a little bit of a late start, so let's keep this moving. And we're going to start with the community agreement. So
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. I'm going to be reading the community agreement. My name is Kendall Reed. I am president of the NAACP Mid-Manhattan Branch. And as we all know, the NAACP is 115 years old, and we're the oldest and largest civil rights organization in the country. So with that being said, I'm going to read the community agreement that we're having here tonight. So there's going to be one mic, one voice at a time. And we're going to please seek to understand the truths that may differ from yours. So we would like for everyone to just take and listen and hear what everyone has to say without any opinion. And then I will hand this back over to Pamela.
Okay, thank you. And as part of the agreement of you being here and sharing in this moment with all of us, we're asking you to be curious and open to learning more about each of the candidates. And please be respectful. Throw sunshine, not shade. Thank you. So, up next, we'd like to introduce the moderators.
So, good evening. I'm Cheryl Smith with Marcus meets Malcom. I'm particularly excited tonight because you won't just hear from older adults, you'll hear from our young people. So we were very intentional about choosing our moderators. So we do have three young men, really different stages of development. So I'd like to introduce them. So the first young man is Kyrie Haynes. A showboater, as you can see. And then the second young man is Basil Patterson. And the third is Tyler Cologne. So they will be the people that will really pose questions to the candidates. Just a quick note. So we will have questions for the candidates that we've established. We've sent some of the questions we've sent all of the questions to the candidates ahead of time, about 48 hours ahead of time. And then we will open up for questions at the end. Now, questions at the end will only be via index cards. So if you have not received an index cards, we have index cards here at the table. So please come and get an index card and we'll choose randomly the index cards that will be selected for questions. So please be respectful. We have young people that will be moderating the session, and I think it's really important for us to really show the example to our young people, and you'll see they are exceptional. So let me, first of all, we will have them introduce Tyler. So we will actually have them introduce our candidates. Okay. The other quick thing I'm being reminded is the fact that if for some reason your question is not addressed tonight, we actually will get that question to each of the candidates so that way they can respond. So if you put your name and contact information, we'll get it to the candidates so they can respond to you, even if it doesn't get answered tonight. So be careful about that. Thank you.
All right, first we have Mr. Craig Schley. Next, we have Ms. Maria Ordonez. Next, we have Ms. Shana Harmongoff. Next, we have Mr. Jordan Wright. And next, we have Mr. Joshua Clennon.
Hello, hello.
Great, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Now we'll have 2-minute introductions from each of our guests.
So that's testing 1, 2. Good evening, Harlem. 120th Street, and my esteemed opponents. I just want to let you know we are in a very, very unique moment in time. We must have change in this district. We need a thoughtful and considerate and temperate mentality in this office. And we just want to make sure that everyone knows that we're the district. The 70th Assembly District belongs to the people. It doesn't belong to any family. It doesn't belong to any group of folks. It cannot be bequeathed, nor can it be inherited. This is why I'm running for New York State 70th Assembly District, to offer my skills, my talents, and my abilities to represent this district. I want to bring essentially income-targeted housing to this district, and to generate capital, traffic, and money. I also bring a federally funded, state-of-the-art television and film industry. My name is Craig Schley. I am a lawyer for the United States Department of Justice, a former adjunct professor for CUNY, a fireman, and once upon a time, I see my brother out there, I used to model with him, Edgar, and I would like to represent you, and I thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. I am Shana Harmongoff, candidate for New York State Assembly, District 70, here in Harlem. I was born and raised in Harlem, and I am passionate about service. I'm also passionate about our leaders who serve our community to have the necessary skills and experience that's needed to get the job done. I have a master's in legal studies and a Juris Doctor degree. I am the only candidate who has worked in state government for a state elected official, and that is important. Because on day one, I will know how to get the resources for our community. I don't have to learn where the bathrooms are in Albany. I don't even have to learn who the key players are, because I know them and they know me. I heard our single mothers who said, Shana, we're struggling trying to make ends meet. I've helped organizations like Harlem Advocates for Seniors get the necessary funding that they needed. I've also helped senior centers from closing during COVID time. I have also helped our small mom and pop businesses become MWBE certified so they can get city governmental contracts in the state of New York. I have also created and draft legislation and policy in state government, which has helped shape my platform: housing the homeless, protecting our seniors and small businesses, and mental health. Do you want to vote for someone who just does the talking, or do you want to vote for someone who delivers? And I am a deliverer. Harlem, I am asking for your vote on June 25th. I am Shana Harmongoff. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joshua Clennon, and I'm running for New York State Assembly here in the village of Harlem, a community that I've called home for my entire life. My family has been in Harlem since the turn of the 20th century. This is a community that's nurtured me, that's educated me, and it's where I'm raising my family now as a husband and a father. My journey in public service began in tragedy, losing my father at a young age to gun violence. He was shot and killed while holding me in his arms. The bullet barely missed me, and my miraculous survival from that event forged my commitment to give back to our community, to improve the conditions that I found myself growing up in, but to also create more opportunities for the next generation coming after me. And that carried me to graduate from Penn State University and come back to our community, where for the past 10 years I've been deeply engaged in public service, whether it be organizing events for our youth to curb gun violence, promote civic engagement, advocating on our community board against the overdevelopment of luxury housing, and fighting for more resources for our community within the city's budget process. And I've also, for the past 8 years, worked in the trenches of affordable housing, managing our low-income housing co-ops to preserve generational wealth for our seniors, our working families, and also making sure that the next generation has truly affordable housing. I plan to leverage my diverse set of experiences in the New York State Assembly to finally deliver the transformative change that we as a community has been starving for. I encourage you all to join me on this journey. I'm looking forward to answering all your questions tonight. You can reach us at joshuaclennon.com. Thank you all again for attending.
Hello everyone, my name is Maria Ordonez and I am a candidate for New York State Assembly right here in Harlem. And I am an organizer and state committee member, and growing up in Harlem, I have seen how my community has been forgotten, how my neighbors have been evicted, people have been displaced, we've seen gentrification. And the more I started to organize for tenants' rights, the more I started to get involved in my community and brought people together, the more I saw that it didn't have to be this way. For too long, this is not even working. For too long, our elected officials have been failing us. And this is why I'm running, because we need change now. And I'm running on a platform for truly affordable housing, to fund our schools and healthcare for all. Because we need change now and we need progressive leadership. We need someone who's gonna fight for strong tenant protections like good cause eviction, for the New York Health Act, because healthcare is a right, not a privilege. And for affordable housing, social housing, Mitchell Lamas, because that's what our community believes. We need to stay here, we need to thrive here, we need to fight together. And I'm ready to take on this fight because together we will make it happen. I'm proud of the movement we've been building. I am the only progressive in this race that has been endorsed by the New York Progressive Action Network, the Tenants Pact, and Citizen Action. We're fighting for change, we're fighting for a movement for Harlem to bring our voice to Albany. Because for once, we will have representation. Because a decades-old establishment has taken too much from our community. It's time we fight for change. And I'm ready to do it together with all of you. Thank you.
Good evening, Harlem. How are you? My name is Jordan Wright, and I'm a candidate for the New York State Assembly 70th District. And I'm proud to call Harlem my home for my 29 years on this earth. It's been a long journey here for me and my family, It's been a really, really great opportunity to be able to run for this seat. My journey in Harlem goes back many years, going all the way back to my grandmother, who was a district public school teacher. And given everything else that my family might have done in this community, people used to come to my grandmother in the street every day and say, "You changed my life." So understanding that educators and those people who see us every day in our youth, they're the ones who are changing our lives. They have the ones who are making the biggest impact. It's important that we have people in Harlem that are willing to bring about change and work with the community, work with the current stakeholders, and understand that this is not something that can be done independently or on its one by one, because you go further together than you do separately. It's important to note that. My journey in Harlem personally is a long one. I've been in this community my entire life. As I said, I served on the community board, my local community board 11 for 3 years, and I only had to step down once I was able to manage the successful campaign of our wonderful council member, Yusef Salam, and I served as the chief of staff. It means a lot to me to be able to be in that position, to really make change for this community, to really understand what we need here, seeing the needs, and I look forward to working with Councilmember Salam while he's on the city level and I'm on the state level to bring about a real transformative movement for our district, for our community, for the 70th Assembly District. Once again, my name is Jordan Wright. I hope I can have your vote, and I'm running for New York State Assembly. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and welcome. If you have any questions written, please feel free to bring your cards to the WEAX table. We're here. Now that we've officially met all the candidates, we can go ahead and get into some of the questions.
Hi, my name is Kyrie Haynes. I live in Harlem, and yeah. This one is about education. Many parents in District 5 either turn to charter schools or take their child or children out of the district. What are your plans to strengthen public schools in the district? What is the role of the NYS Board of Regents in public education in our district? Are you concerned about this body and how it functions related to this district?
I just asked. So I just asked this gentleman. So I just asked the young man. Well, I'm going to go first every time. So also, I'm going to make a quick adjustment. My colleague said she's the only person that works for government here. I also, as an honor student out of NYU, I worked in Congressman Reagan's office as an intern, and thereafter stayed and did constituency services in housing and Social Security. And in addition to that, I worked on my sister's campaign in Philadelphia, and also worked on Felipe Luciano's campaign years ago, and I'm active in the community and politics. And I've offered legislation when they were zoning 125th Street to have a different standard and a different way to go about developing that. This gentleman asked me what can I do better about the Regions 5. First, I want to let you know what that is. There's 17 region of district members. 13 of them are assigned to it, 4 of them are statewide or at large. District 5 is here. What I've observed from the commissioner here, his name is Patrick Manhattan, I think it's Mansion, I believe it is. He is a a financial advisor. He's steeped in finances. I don't think it's good to have an individual over education that's not steeped in education. I would focus on reading. I would focus on developing the homes and the parents to work with the children, and definitely support the public schools, as I'm a public school individual and raised in public schools as well. My name is Craig Schley. Thank you.
I believe that every child deserves quality education. I would make sure to provide resources, provide funding for the schools, also give the necessary resources for our teachers. I would also like to invest more money in community organizations that will help our youth. When I was growing up, we had a lot of after-school programs, and we need to bring that back. I went to Menacing, and that right there, and also Salvation Army, and it used to be really big over there in Uptown Harlem, but it's no longer. Our kids need more in Harlem, because oftentimes when they don't have something to do, they go wayward. But our kids are talented. So if we invest more money in entrepreneurial things for our youth, especially for, let's say our child has a talent. So if they have a talent, I want to invest more money. It's like in a barbershop. So if our youth wants to do barbershop, let's give that barbershop more money for our youth so they can be productive in society. So I would invest more money in community initiatives and community organizations that help our youth. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a very important question, an important issue for our community, right? Education is at the pillar of everything that we do, right? It's at the pillar of our local economy. It's important for our young people to be able to go to our public schools and get a high quality education. Now, when we look at New York State overall, school districts like District 5 have been historically underfunded. And we have never gotten our just due from the New York State budget, which for this year is a $237 billion budget. On top of that, we're grappling with two silent crises. We have a literacy crisis. 2 out of 3 children living in poverty in New York City are not reading at a grade level, according to organizations like Link that tracks literacy rates. On top of that, nationally, we have a teacher shortage. New York City has to hire 18,000 more teachers over the next 5 years in order to maintain class restrictions. So this is why it's important that we have legislators in the state budget, in the state legislature that are going to fight to make sure that our community gets its fair share of the New York State budget. Thank you.
Can you hear me? I'm just going to talk through my voice. And I want 5 rounds. 1 minute. All right, so I am proud to be the product of the public school system. I attended public schools for elementary school, middle school, and high school. And attending these schools, I know firsthand that we need to be doing more for our public schools here in Harlem. This means fully funding our schools and ensuring that every single school has access to a library, to arts, to music, to after-school programs, and to counselors and to social workers. Because too often we see that our schools and our communities are left behind and we have no resources, we have no libraries, we don't have a proper gym or a proper cafeteria. We need to make it happen for Harlem, and I know it firsthand. And what I will say is that I stand against charter schools because I believe that they're taking too much away from the funding from our public schools. We need to make sure that we're investing in our public schools, and when there's public land, we're building public schools. And therefore, I think that we need to have a more transparent system. Our community, our families, our children should be more involved in the education system. And that is how we're gonna make this happen, and we're gonna make change happen together, united, and making sure that our system is transparent and funding our schools so our kids can have a better future.
1 minute, right? Okay. So, thank you for that question. I appreciate it, young man. The Board of Regents is organization, and they are the ones that set the tone for K through 12 education in our district. And I think it's pretty concerning that they're making decisions, as my brother Craig said, from people who aren't educated. So I think educators need to be the ones who are determining the curriculum and the education of our youth. So I think it's important that we assess them, see what they're doing, understand what's going on, and also on top of that, with our educators, with the Board of Regents, everyone needs to be working together, the parents and the educators, so we can be benefiting those who need the help most, who is our students. Because without the students, there is no future of the education system, and that's who we need to really be benefiting and ensuring that's who's being made whole throughout the education process. Thank you.
Those are all amazing answers. Thank you. The second question is about seniors. What are the top 3 issues facing senior citizens in the district, and how would you address them? First way.
Thank you. So the top 3 issues facing seniors are affordable housing, public safety, and healthcare. Without those 3 things, our seniors aren't going to be able to be made whole, and there's really no way for them to understand that, that they're being helped. And I think that we need to promote those to ensure that they're getting as much help as they need. They need somewhere to live. We need more affordable, supportive housing so they can continue to have somewhere safe to live. On top of that, they need to know that their health care is there so they can, be able to age in place and live somewhere and understand that they're being able to maintain their health, because that's important. And additionally, public safety. Our seniors right now, I hear it every day when in the council member's office, they're afraid to leave their home. They're not feeling safe. So we need to ensure that they are feeling safe, that they can leave their home safely. We need to make sure that they're understanding that there are areas that they can go where they can go shop during the day, that they can go out, see their children, pick their grandkids up from school at night. That's really important, and that's key. So affordable housing, affordable supportive housing, public safety, and healthcare. Thank you.
We have a working mic. Oh, I have to press it. Oh, there you go. No, that's not working. It's not working. I have to project again. I love doing that. All right? No. Perfect. Yay. Okay. So for seniors, 3 things, the most important things for me for seniors is that first and foremost, we need to make the senior population a priority in this district. There's a large senior population. And 3 things that we've seen from our campaign, our conversations with people are number 1, housing, number 2, healthcare, and number 3, access to needed services. Number 1, for housing, we need to make sure that seniors can access truly affordable housing, accessible housing, right? Because a lot of our seniors have different needs. And also making sure that we're expanding rent freeze for different seniors so they can live in Harlem and continue to live here. And furthermore, I know a lot of seniors live in home care centers. We need to fight for fair pay for home care workers to ensure that we are addressing the lack of home care workers for seniors and that they can get the care that they need. And number 2, for healthcare, I've been an advocate for the New York Health Act for years. And we need to make sure that we have a single payer system where we're fighting for truly free, accessible health care and everyone can access it. But at the same time, for union retirees, so they can access their union health care and they can continue to stay on their union health care, because I know there's been fights for that and we need to support them. And number 3, access for resources. We need to make sure they can access food, the community centers, and we have more, so we can create more of those in our community and really bring them together as a community.
Our seniors are the backbones of our community, and I've had the pleasure of working closely with a lot of seniors during my work in housing. I would say the number 1 issue for seniors in our community is home care. Many of our seniors find it difficult to be able to afford to get adequate home care, and this is a crucial issue because our elders deserve the right to age with dignity, to get the supportive services that they need without having to feel like a burden to their loved ones. So this is something that I want to fight for and advocate for in Albany, to make sure that we're expanding access to home care, making it more affordable, and making sure that home care workers also get the pays that they deserve. In addition to that, economic security is vital for our seniors, right? So many of our seniors in our community are operating on fixed incomes, and the cost of everything is quite frankly rising, right? Making sure that our seniors have adequate financial assistance, that they're protected from a lot of the scams and frauds that are targeting seniors in our community, and also making sure that our community has access to estate planning. So much generational wealth is lost in our community each and every year because our seniors don't have wills, trust. So it's very important as a community that we address these issues. Thank you.
So I'm going to try to make this quick because this is one of my biggest platforms is advocating for seniors. I actually, when I was 8 years old, my parents had me and my sibling volunteering at nursing homes and senior centers, which is why I'm in community service today, because I've learned so much from seniors and got to hear the needs of the seniors. When I worked for the senator, he asked me, what are you most passionate about? And I said, advocating for seniors and mental health. I started the Senior Steering Committee, which comprised of senior executive directors of nursing homes and senior organizations. And every week I meet with these seniors, even today, even though I'm not in government. One of their biggest issues, and one of my seniors are here with me today staffing me because I'm really big on seniors. One of the biggest issues that they're always talking about is safety. Because when they get on the trains, when they get on the buses, when they're walking the streets, they feel unsafe. They don't feel safe because of the mentally ill. And one of the things that I want to propose when I get into office on day one, I want to make sure that we have mental health counselors, psychotherapists, and social workers walking the streets, handling cases that they're trained and qualified to do. I also want mental health counselors, social workers, and psychotherapists to be first responders on the scene when situations call for it. Healthcare is an issue for the seniors as well as housing. And I want to make sure, the seniors want to make sure, okay, thank you.
My mother's 90 years old. My father's 88. I was raised with 4 grandparents. Every Sunday, I would bounce from church to church and help them down the steps. The number one thing for our seniors is they have to be protected, cared for, and provided for. What do I mean by that? They're in danger every time they leave the home and go to the supermarket. We could have policing, police those areas on foot where our seniors go from their home to the supermarket, where they go from their home to the church, where they go the home to the transportation. In addition to that, you know, our seniors, our beloved mothers and fathers, they have health problems that they need transportation, reliable transportation, 100% funding for that. I care about my parents. I care about the young ones. They have food insecurity. We need 100% support for their food and their housing. Their housing has to be income targeted, not the affordable model that they cannot afford. These are the basic things that our seniors need, and they need to be cared about, and we have to teach our young in school to respect them and to care about them, because guess what? We're right behind them, are we not? Thank you.
Hello.
Hello, good evening. My name is Basil Patterson, and I'm a graduating senior of the collegiate school, and I appreciate the opportunity to moderate tonight and represent my assembly district. I appreciate the attendance of both the community and the candidates for this forum today. The first question of mine surrounds housing. What is your vision for balancing the housing stock to create economic parity of available housing? And for this question, we'll be starting with Ms. Ordonez and gradually going this way towards me in answering the questions.
All right, so first and foremost, I just love that we have young people moderating tonight. That's what people power looks like. Thank you for doing that. Yeah, and to answer the question, I began organizing in politics in my community around tenants' rights. So this is what I do. I fight for tenants' rights, for tenant protections, and I know that we need truly affordable housing. We need to ensure that we're investing in our public housing to ensure that they can stay where they are, and there's money in the state to do that. We can tax the rich and make sure we're bringing money for public housing. We also need to make sure we're building more social housing, more Mitchell-Lamas, and I know what it means to live in a Mitchell-Lama and have to go private. I live in 3333 Broadway. That was then privatized, and I saw how people were evicted, how my family had to move away because they couldn't afford rents. So we need more social housing, more Mitchell-Lamas, and we need to make sure that we're preserving all affordable apartments. So when you move out of your Section 8 apartment, it gotta be affordable. It cannot go back to market rate. That's how we preserve our community. That's how we stay in our community. And I also wanna make sure that we are fighting for tenants' rights and for tenant protections and holding our landlords accountable. This is how we're gonna fight for our housing, to make sure that we stay here. And I also want to make sure that, for the homelessness population, we're fighting for the housing access voucher program to make sure that they can also access housing no matter who they are, no matter where they are. And for homeowners, I know we're around so many brownstones. I want to make sure that we're investing in brownstones so we can build generational wealth. Too often than not, we are not the owners of our homes, and we need to make that happen. Thank you.
The affordable housing crisis is the most pressing issue facing our city and our state. Nothing else that we do matters if the people who make this city the great city that it is can no longer afford to live here. I want to use my experience, my hands-on experience on the ground, to truly address the affordable housing crisis in a way that it hasn't been done before, right? We need proactive leadership and legislation at our state level to make sure that our communities no longer get the short end of the stick when it comes to real estate development. We have to revise and reform programs such as 421A so that they work for our community and instead of working for developers. We have to make sure that we're using new models to create affordable housing, such as community land trusts, revamping Mitchell-Lama, reinvesting and creating more HDFCs, low-income housing cooperatives, and also passing state right to counsel to make sure that when tenants do go to housing court, they have adequate representation and are not evicted without representation. So these are important issues, and we really need leadership that is accountable to our community and is not in the pocket of real estate developers.
Well, we do have a housing crisis going on, but there's three things that I want to tackle in order to get affordable housing. We need more rent control. And I believe we need to implement rent control measures and expand housing assistance programs. I also want to use the measure that I call block by block area median income, where we're averaging the amount of on one particular block, how much people are making, figure out that income, and then so if there's a vacant apartment or vacant building on that area, when developers come in to move people in, you're not charging more for people to come in than that actual block actually makes. So that's block by block area median income. The second thing is affordable housing. We need to incentivize the mixed income developments and revitalize underdeveloped areas. And the third thing is community land trust. We need to support land trusts and housing cooperatives and ensure long-term affordability. And those are the three things that I think that we can do to get more affordable housing in Harlem. Thank you.
So it's very difficult to have parity when the average income in Harlem is $51,000. But the homes rent here, you have to have over $100,000 to actually rent it or buy it or get into that process. You need 100% income targeted housing. That's different than the AMI, where you use a snapshot of Harlem, snapshot of New Jersey, snapshot of Westchester, and average that out. What we have here is an opportunity to have state legislation that says, hey, if I live between 110 and 125th, I have a different income between 125th and 135th, and a different income between 135th and 145th, and you use that area's income targeting the housing, and you can easily capture that from your income tax, from the census that's taken every 10 years. I understand this because I defended 71 small businesses and residents in between 2008 and 2012 when they was kicking out 71 residents. And that rezoning proposal I saw then was going to hike all of the business, homes, and everything that has to do with your living lifestyle up. And I would like to take this attitude and like to take this skill set to the state and make sure that we have income targeted housing, so our young can get off of the couch, can go rent their own homes, buy their own homes, and through that you can begin to have parity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Basil, for that question. I think as it pertains to the housing stock, there are a number of things that we need to do to make sure that we're promoting it and preserving it. First of all, we're in a housing crisis now. No one here is going to deny that. It's a crisis that needs to be fixed. I'm happy to be able to say that when I was at a rally at Savoy Houses a couple weeks ago because they were rallying against the deplorable conditions in their housing stock right in our own neighborhood. And I was able to work with the Met Council to make sure that we were able to find solutions for the residents. We fought the landlord, fought Fairstead, and we were able to bring some immediate fixes that they need. There's way more work to do, but it was a great start. Now, the state budget just passed, the 485X, as well as the good tenant protection provisions, they were passed. Obviously, we have to see how those play out, but immediate fixes that I would make right now are the 20 to 80 market to affordable housing rate. That's far too little. It needs to be at least 40 to 60. And on top of that, thank you. On top of that, we need to have a real look into 485X, how it's improving, how it's working. And I think that the tenant protections don't need to be just for 10 years. They need to be in perpetuity. Thank you.
This second question addresses economic development. What strategies do you plan on utilizing in order to attract new businesses to Harlem while supporting the long-lasting businesses? And for this question, we'll be starting with Mr. Clennon.
As a small business owner, I know very well that small businesses here in Harlem are the lifeblood of our community, right? When you look at 125th Street, it's a culmination of small businesses. But what our small businesses need are more dollars from our state budget, right? We've never hit the New York State benchmark for minority and women-owned businesses in our state's history, right? Which is to give at least 25% of state contracting opportunities. When COVID hit, how many dollars from our COVID stimulus from our New York and state government, how many of those dollars reached Harlem? Very little, right? So we need intentional, proactive leadership that's going to make sure that funds are reinvested into our community. And I'm also a proponent of a public banking system, which would make sure that our tax dollars that we give to our state government are not just reinvested in Wall Street, but they're reinvested in a public bank that provides microloans to our entrepreneurs, to our small businesses, that can fund community development. This is how we as a community take control of our destiny and create the change that we want to see.
So for small businesses, we need to develop tax incentives and grants for new businesses as well as the existing businesses in Harlem. When I walk the community and I stop by and talk to small businesses and ask them what are their needs, oftentimes a lot of the small businesses are Black and brown people and they want to get governmental contracts. And so I've helped some small businesses become MWBE certified. So we need to push awareness to what MWBE certification is. We need to help our small businesses become MWBE certified so they can get state and governmental contracts. And we should bring awareness to our small businesses so the community can know more about small businesses and push more funding in state government, which I'll do for small businesses so they can bring more of their services to the community. Thank you.
Clearly, small businesses are it. But just being a small business is not enough. You have to have traffic. This district has to do something in particular other than run off of pure real estate. What I'm proposing and what I suggest and what I've thought about and planned, and I've talked to the United States Chamber of Commerce, film and television industry. That is a $712 trillion industry per year. The United States holds 1/3 of that. It brought $812 million jobs. Look what Atlanta, Georgia has done behind Tyler Perry's development and what it did in Silver Cup. We could actually blossom this area into a very bustling cultural center behind a federally funded, state-of-the-art film and television industry. This is something that we do naturally. Just think about it. It's a very populated district of people that have a very diverging culture. Nothing is bought and sold in the United States without music. Just think about that. That's Harlem. A matter of fact, if we were in office, the Jazz at Lincoln Center would have been right at Apollo Theater. We must do something to bring the traffic, the business, and type of income that support varying levels of people have varying levels of education and have a living wage. We want to bring a film and TV industry here to Harlem. Thank you.
So our small businesses, has been said, ad nauseum here, are the lifeblood of our community. It's important that we invest in them, we support them. I know that because that's something I do right now. I'm looking forward to hosting, different events. I'm doing a watch party for the Knicks game after this is over. If anybody wants to go, Knicks, very exciting. I think it's also important that we're giving tax breaks to our local small businesses, because as we are going to them, shopping at them, it's important that they are understanding that they're of our community. We're keeping our dollar in our Harlem community. So our local small businesses that are locally owned and locally funded, we have to make sure we're enhancing foot traffic there, which is something that I'm committing to doing. And we have to make sure that as we get the foot traffic there, we're making sure that dollars from not just here, but from all over the state, as people come travel here, come to different events, they're stopping in Harlem to come check out what we have, our resources. Thank you.
Before I begin, I just wanted to say, for the previous question, I just want to mention that I've been the only candidate that's been endorsed by a pro-tenant group. That's Tenant Tech. No one else has been endorsed in this race because we're the grassroots campaign. And then for the question on economic development, I want to make sure that we're prioritizing our vacant storefronts for local businesses. I also want to make sure that we are investing and using state dollars to invest in minority-owned businesses. And I know, all of you may know the 125th corridor. I want to make sure we bring that to life, but with local businesses. So we create an initiative or something to invest in the arts and music and local businesses. And I want to see more open streets like this across Harlem, because that's what we need. More people so we can come around community, share our resources, but also bring businesses here. So, so we can all come together and support each other, because it is parents, it is families that own these local businesses, and we need to support each other.
My final question is also about economic development. If elected, what is the first economic development policy that you plan on supporting? For this one, we'll start with Ms. Harmongoff.
Well, I would like to, hello? Okay. I would like to create grants again for our businesses, Harlem Jazz Museum. I would like to also provide trainings and workshops and mentorships for business owners. I would also like to do renovate Harlem's commercial spaces. We have a lot of vacant buildings in Harlem that can be converted into the arts, and I'm really big on the arts. So I want to take a lot of the vacant buildings that we have and convert it to more museums, more arts, and give more funding and incentives to our artists so they can draw, so they can, I remember during a COVID time, we had people drawing in the street. Let's fund more of that. Do more for Harlem. Do more arts, do more music, dance, fund more money to the Schomburg, but we need to bring arts back in Harlem. So that's one of the things that I would do, is fund more money to renovate some of the empty buildings in Harlem for the arts, music, and culture. Thank you.
I'll take this opportunity to further expound on my idea. Listen, I want you to imagine actually having federal funds to open up any type of business that has to do with the entertainment, from sweeping floors to having engineering, audio programs, directors. You see this place filled up with studios and buses and tractor trailers all day long, but that money leaves the district. This would be directly related to you here. The empty buildings that she's referred to could easily be rented by someone wanting to have a startup, someone wanting to involve themselves in this district. It brings traffic. Small businesses need traffic. Furthermore, think about this. It is an industry that will help amalgamate this district. It's culturally, racially, religiously, and this is something that Harlem already has. Harlem has the most popular, matter of fact, the 8th popular street, 125th Street in the United States. This is something we can do. It's a $700 trillion industry. All it needs is legislative leadership and backing, and to move it forward. We can no longer live off of pure real estate as our market engine. Thank you.
Thank you. My first economic development proposal that I would do when elected to the Assembly is I would mandate a community benefits agreement for any project that was coming to our district that was utilizing public funds. I think our partners in Community Board 9, 10, and 11 would do a fantastic job in making sure that the benefits, that the community benefits, would really help our community. They would put our community first. If you're using public dollars, you need to have a community benefits agreement to come into our neighborhood, and it needs to be for us and by us so we can understand that the community comes first. Thank you.
So the first thing I would do as an Assembly member in terms of economic development is support the Good Jobs Guarantee Act. When I think about the economy, I think about workers and I think about people who are working in these businesses. So I want to make sure that low-income New Yorkers, especially those in Harlem, can have access to better jobs, tech jobs, and we can do that. This legislation has been introduced in the Senate by Senator Jane Arias and also in the Assembly. But further than that, I also want to make sure that we are investing in our small businesses. So I will explore ways to create a small business support program where we are investing in our communities, creating more initiatives, and really promoting our small businesses so they know that we care for them.
Y'all still here with us? Come on, we need some more energy out here. Come on, yeah. So Harlem, as you all know, we are a community of hustlers, right? You see entrepreneurism every street that you walk in this community. What I want to do as the next state assembly person is to establish an incubator fund for entrepreneurs that targets historically Black and brown communities like ours. And one way that we can fund that is through a policy that I just mentioned previously, public banking, which is something that you'll come to know that I'm really excited about. Reinvesting the tax dollars that we're all paying every single year, instead of investing it only in Wall Street, we're reinvesting it in our community so that our community can have access to loans, to grants, so that we can fund the initiatives that we as a community would like to see. All right, relax. Reclaiming my time? Oh. Okay. Reclaim. All right. Because Harlem, the one thing that has held us back is that we have never had the same access to capital as other communities. Our community has been historically redlined. And now that Harlem has become such a trendy community, you see a lot of economic interest from outside of our community coming here and setting up shop. But those of us who have been here, who have put in that work for generations, We deserve to be able to benefit from the new economic energy that's coming through our community. We deserve to have those same opportunities to start businesses, to grow businesses, to hire within our community. These are the economic opportunities that we deserve, and that's what I'm committed to fighting for in the New York State Assembly. Thank you.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Tyler Cologne. I'm a graduate of Howard University. I majored in biology and I minored in chemistry, Russian, and jazz music. And I am a Harlem native. It's a pleasure to be here and be able to ask you guys 2 questions. The first question will be an environmental justice question. The New York Heat Act is critical legislation that would help downsize the gas system in New York State and cap energy costs for low-income households struggling to pay their utility bills. However, despite having 75 sponsors in the State Assembly, the Chamber's leadership has refused to bring it to a vote or include it in the state budget. How would you champion popular environmental justice legislation in the face of such resistance?
So this is boiled down to one very essential issue, is how do you get your opposition to agree with you? The bill is perfect on its face. We need reduction, and I'm the person that could get the job done. I ran for Congress previously. I once ran against a gentleman that was cross-endorsed by the Republican Party up here. And when I ran as a Democrat, I also got cross-endorsed. Not as a Republican, but as a Democrat who they understood could actually negotiate across the line. I have certifications, law certifications in arbitration, mediation, and advanced dispute resolution. My ability to garner support and rally the troops was demonstrated when I was defending 71 small businesses for 5 years against the city. I had I got 30 new school students to work on our campaign to get credit for that. I've often ran multiple organizations and been able to have support from both sides. That's what comes down to. That bill is perfect. You just need someone who knows how to talk, to communicate, and get across the other side and have them support that bill, which I could do. Thank you.
Thank you. The New York Heat Act is imperative because it's an important chance for us to realize that we can create some real change within 2 very serious problems, our socioeconomic and our climate issues that we have in our state today. It's important to realize that there are many stakeholders in this. We have, those in the private sector, those in the not-for-profit sector. We have those who are, are other state elected officials who we have to work with. On top of that, we'd have to work with not-for-profits. So it's important to bring all 4 of those groups together to make sure that we're finding a way to bring about the change and make sure that Assembly leadership looks at this. I'm committed to hosting town halls so the community can understand why this is so important and why we have to organize around it. And I look forward to working with WEAC to develop those town halls and ensure that they're getting done for our community, because the New York Heat Act is very important and really will create a bright bridge for our future. Thank you.
Yeah, the New York Heat Act is very important, and thank you for that question, Tyler. I am shocked that we still don't have that as a real legislation in our state. I'd like to say the New York Heat Act, the struggle it's facing is the same type of struggles that good cause eviction faced. In our district, we have rising numbers of evictions, and our own Assembly member, Ina Stickens, was against good cause eviction because she was against tenant protections. And the same thing here with the New York Heat Act. There are many Assembly members all across the state that are against the legislation. And we're going to do the same thing we did for good cause eviction. We're going to organize with the people. We're going to organize with the community groups doing the work in the front lines. I know that this is possible because we were able to get good cause eviction in the budget. We can do that now with the New York Heat Act and make it possible for our communities and help our low-income working class communities, especially those that have been at the front lines of the climate crisis and seeing the most negative effects of the climate crisis. So I'm committed to this, and we're going to make it happen together as a community. This is how we're going to make it happen. Thank you.
The New York Heat Act is an important piece of legislation, but this question is really not about the legislation itself, it's about the dynamics of Albany. Now, as somebody who is, for many years traveled to Albany to lobby for legislation, there's a whole bunch of parlor tricks that goes along with, our state legislature. Let's just be honest. Bills like the New York Heat Act are able, in one way, to garner a lot of support from elected officials who sometimes know that the speaker is not going to put this bill on the floor for a vote. So I don't lose anything by supporting it. And how do we combat parlor tricks like that? We have to build public awareness and public support, because career politicians don't support what they think is right. They support what they think is popular. And one of the biggest complaints I get from our community when I'm knocking doors and hitting the streets is they ask, why don't the politicians come around when it's not election season? And it's an important thing that we have to face as a community, because we have to campaign for legislation the same way that we campaign to get elected. We have to spread awareness. How many of us know what bills our legislators are carrying? Hardly any of us. We need to know what our legislators are doing, how we can support them, and they have to be able to make that effort to come to us and engage our community. And that's what I plan to do, to not only campaign during election time, but campaign when we're trying to pass transformative change for Harlem and New York State.
I would mobilize community support, work with organizations like the New York League of Conservative Voters, also work with WEAC, what you guys are doing, also work with organizations like the Environmental Defense Fund. I would also work with my colleagues in government to hold group town halls for our community for education and bringing awareness for environmental and economic benefits of the Act. We all know that in order for bills to pass, your colleagues need to be on board. So I'm really big on, and I have a lot of friends in state government from having to previously work in state government. So it's basically bringing awareness to the community and educating the other colleagues in government about this bill and how we needed to get it passed. And I will work hard with the environmental justice groups to make sure that we keep pounding the pavement to our elected officials to make sure that we get it passed. Thank you.
Thank you for those amazing responses. Extreme heat's the deadliest impact of climate change, and according to the city's new EJNYC report, Black New Yorkers are twice as likely to die from heat stress as white New Yorkers. What resilience programs or policies do you plan to support to reduce heat stress amongst vulnerable New Yorkers?
Thank you for that question. It is, is climate change, overheating is an issue of right now, and we have to deal with it with that kind of intentionality and severity. I'm committed to making sure that we have cooling stations all across the 70th Assembly District, and I'd work with my partners on the city and federal governments to make sure that they were accessible and everyone had a cooling station within walking distance when we were in a heat wave. That's very important. Number two, I'd ensure that we were planting trees in areas that are not green enough, areas that don't have enough shade, and that's important because as we have more trees, that's how we stop overheating, and we can stop the process of too much sunlight and too much heat, and that prevents people from overheating. In addition to that, any kind of building that was coming into our district, I'd ensure that the developers were mandated to have an environmental agreement to make sure that it was as environmentally friendly as possible and ensure that there were cooling stations in those buildings as well for the community to access. Because again, the cooling stations are what's going to be helpful in making sure that we don't have any overheating. Everybody needs a cooling station accessible to them within walking distance. Thank you.
first and foremost, I want to say shame on Eric Adams for defunding our libraries, because our libraries are a staple of our community. They need to be open 7 days a week, and if possible, extend the hours, because there are places where people in our community go to see, AC, just to read a book, and during the heat, and make sure that they're cool. But beyond that, we need to make sure that we're also creating more green spaces, that we're creating more green rooftops, especially in buildings that have the ability to do that. But we also need to think about that when we develop, we're developing heat resilience. We're developing it in a heat resilient way and making sure that we're very intentional of our community. Our community has a lot of concrete. There's not a lot of green space. We need to make sure that we are creating that green space and we're very intentional about our people. But most importantly, I want to make sure that we are making our low-income and working-class New Yorkers a priority. And that means making sure that they have access to AC, especially those in NYCHA, especially those who don't have access to that, so that they too know that they're cared for.
The Paris Agreement is something that the New York City opted into in 2017 to ensure that by 2050, our city and all global cities around the world would be net zero. Because if we're not net zero by 2050, we're going to see catastrophic damage to our planet from climate change. And we're already seeing record heat waves this year and the previous year. So we have to proactively invest in climate resiliency, making sure that we have cooling centers in our community, making sure that we're expanding green space to absorb emissions and carbon in our environment. And I think our public housing, our NYCHA, needs to be at the center of a clean energy revolution here in our city, utilizing the abundance of public space in our NYCHA to create new opportunities for clean energy, solar panels, which can also be jobs for our community, and also utilizing the space in NYCHA to create green roofs, green garden roofs, so that people in our community can create produce while also helping to clean and preserve our environment.
I would like to raise awareness on heat safety. We also need to expand our cooling stations. We also need to extend the hours of the high-risk areas for the cooling stations. I also want to make sure that we were looking at people's electricity bills and making sure that we help our low-income households. I also want to install energy-efficient cooling stations throughout Harlem District. So basically extending the hours of operation for our high-risk areas and expanding on our cooling areas, especially for our seniors. Thank you.
So the low-income energy program has been around for 50 years. It's $3.6 billion, not enough. 70 people, particularly seniors, have died, and 80% of them was because of simply not having air conditioners. What we need to do is just what we used to do when we were little, open up more sprinklers around here. We know that after watching the mayor jack up all of these tent cities for people, we can have these in the parks when we know that a heat wave is coming. Our seniors need to be looked after. We can invest in having more daycare attendants in more senior citizens to have daycares looked after them. Nurses, increase the nursing population when we have a heat wave coming. In addition to that, we just simply need to do just what we normally do. Look after one another. Come outside, support each other. These are quality of life issues that, yes, money can improve it, but we have to work together to resolve it. Thank you very much.
Our last question will be a public safety question. If elected, what measures would you take to provide resources and opportunities to juveniles and young adults, late teens, involved in criminal activity within our community?
So I believe that it's very important that we are supporting our youth. We have a lot of young people now running for this race. We have a young person here. I went to school with you, moderating. So great to see you again. And that means we need to make sure that we're prioritizing them. And that means that I would advocate for the right to remain silent bill, to make sure that the youth have access to legal support, because oftentimes they are pressured to speak and say things because the police have too often brutalized Black and brown people, and that's not right. So I support that bill. I also support making sure that for the youth that has been incarcerated, that they have a pathway back into our community, that they have access to education, they have access to resources, to housing, so that they can come back to our community and be people of good. Because I know they can, and I believe in second chances, and I believe that that is possible. And the youth are the future. And some youth that have been incarcerated have been one of the most wonderful people in the world. And I believe just that. I believe in reformative justice, and I believe that we can make it happen.
I'm committed to creating, for our schools here in Harlem, a pipeline to prosperity rather than a pipeline to prison. That means reforming our current educational system so that we can create a community school model where our children have access to the mental health services that they need. Because as Frederick Douglass once said, it's much easier to build strong boys than to repair broken men. And that's what we need here in this community. We also need vocational training, making sure that our youth are in tune with the jobs of the future. The state budget just passed $250 million to create a new center upstate that's going to focus on vocational jobs for AI, emerging industries. We need similar centers here in Harlem. Harlem can be the next tech hub in the Northeast area if we invest now. And that's what we've got to do, and that's what I'm committed to fighting for.
I would invest money in community-based organizations. There's a lot of organizations that work with our young people, and I would invest funding in that. We also need to reform our juvenile justice system. I would also, like I mentioned earlier, bring back money towards our after-school programs, because our youth need to do something after they are in school. After the juveniles come back and re-enter into society, we need to make sure we tackle the mental health. Because oftentimes when I've talked to juveniles coming out of the system, they mention that there's no mental health services for them. I also want to mandate before the student graduates 12th grade that they have to take a class talking to a counselor, so we can normalize speaking to a counselor before they graduate. They can be productive citizens in society. Mental health, especially in the Black and brown community, has been stigmatized, and we need to normalize it at an early age for our young people and make it a class that they have to, a required class that they have to go to before they graduate high school. So, yes, thank you.
This is a very, very serious problem, and to resolve it or to address it, you have to kind of understand their position. Just imagine being in prison for 10, 15 years, back up 10 or 15 years outside of prison, where would you have been? And they're coming out. We have to reacclimate them into society. Right here in this district, there's a nonprofit right here that's called Love versus Over Violence. Future leaders right here. My campaign manager, she's the director of an organization that helps the individuals coming out of that was formerly incarcerated into society. There they have available mental health professionals. They have high-tech technology to teach them the type of business and wages that they can earn through that. And they also have a way in which to acclimate them into society and work them with people like ourselves. In addition to that, we want to have people who have skills, who are teachers, or doctors, lawyers, engineers, to come out and help them. This is something that's a burden on our shoulders that you just can't legislate it away. This is a problem that we're going to address, and that's how we go forward. Investing in our community, investing in the small nonprofits, and supporting them all the way to citizenship and voting again. Thank you.
this is a very near and dear issue to me. In my work with Councilmember Salam, I've noticed that, every day we get letters from folks, young folks who have been, are behind the wall, as I like to call it, because, there's no further than behind the wall. And it's really a shame that they tell me stories where they say that they were involved in a gang when they were, when they were in middle school, 5th, 6th grade. It's really sad. So I think that the best way to get ahead of this is to make sure we're in front of it. We're investing in mental health resources for our students, for our young people in our elementary schools, in our local district schools, so they can see that there is a future. They don't have to fall in to these terrible pitfalls. They know they have family, other places. They know they have somewhere to go where they don't have to go into a violent path. And I think as long as we show them the light versus the darkness that other path is, I think that we can really have a bright future for our community. So that's what I would do for our youth. That's what I would do. I'd make sure that they saw the light through mental health resources, through investing in after-school programs, other forms of education, so they weren't exactly headed towards the darkness, they're looking towards the light. Thank you so much.
Candidates, thank you all so much for your participation. Before we proceed to your closing statements, we will allow each candidate to respond to one question from the audience. So we'll start off at the far end. Oh, okay. Okay, the first one is for Ms. Shana, Ms. Harmongoff. Oh, sorry.
The moderator is going to read it to us.
Okay. Give you a little lead time. Okay. Okay. Harlem has had many of the same issues for years. What would you continue from electeds that came before? And what will you do differently?
So one of the things that I don't hear a lot of elected officials talking about is mental health, which I'm really passionate on. We all talk about housing because we know that's a huge issue, especially in Harlem, but mental health. And that's why I mentioned that I wanted to make a required class for students before they graduate 12th grade to take it so we can normalize mental health. Because for so long, especially in our Black communities, it has been stigmatized. We have a homelessness crisis going on. We also have a drug overdose crisis going on, and Harlem has been oversaturated with drug treatment facilities. We need to make sure that each district has their fair share of drug treatment facilities so that way the Black and brown communities aren't oversaturated. But first we need to tackle the root cause, which is mental health. So I will make sure that we put more funding in mental health resources and mental health organizations so that way we can have more mental health counselors, social workers, and psychotherapists walking the streets, handling cases that they're trained and qualified to do, as well as being first responders on the scene when situations call for it. Thank you.
The next question is for Joshua Clennon. What are your plans for mental health?
As we all know, mental health is a critical issue in our community. And statistically, mental health is directly tied to poverty. If you live in a lower socioeconomic class community, you are more likely to develop anxiety, depression, all mental health issues that we see play out in our community on a daily basis, on our subways. Drug addiction, which is also plaguing our community, and we something, 120 Fisher, I can't tell you how many times I've stopped and had to call the police because I've seen somebody overdosing on 125th Street or the surrounding blocks, right? So the way that we address this is to really tackle the root of the issue, which is inequality. We live in the most unequal city in America, and it's only become more unequal in this day and age. We have less homeowners in New York City than we did in 1970. We have so many people in our community still living under the poverty line. We have to invest in uplifting our community economically, making sure that our kids get the resources that they need in their schools to address with the trauma that they may experience on a daily basis at home. And I know it because I've lived it. You know, I lost my father to gun violence. I know so many people in our community who have lost families, friends, members to gun violence. And this is trauma that we carry on a daily basis. So if we don't get the supportive services that we need and also the economic support that we need, it's hard to break these cycles, and that's what I'm committed to fighting for.
The next question will be for Maria Ordonez. What will you do about affordable housing?
Perfect. Right up my lane. Again, I began organizing in my community around tenants' rights, and that was really personal to me because I've seen people be evicted. I've seen people struggle to make ends meet and pay for their rent. So for affordable housing, I will be a true advocate, and I've been endorsed by Tenants PAC. I want to work with groups like that. They're at the front lines of fighting for our communities. I want to make sure that we're fighting for affordable housing by creating more social housing, by investing in our public housing to ensure people can stay in their homes, but also making sure that people can pay for their rent. So creating voucher programs for people who are homeless or very low income, and generally really making sure that we're keeping Harlem affordable. So when we develop, I'm not taking any money from real estate, making sure that real estate is actually paying attention to our community and building affordable housing that's reflective of people's income. People should not be paying more than 30% of their income for rent. More than that is just criminal. So I want to make sure that everything we do in this community ensures that we can stay here and we can thrive here.
The next question will be for Craig Schley. What will you do about or for public health?
Well, clearly this is an ongoing problem. We have public health issues that are related to drugs. We have public health issues related to our families being broken up, separated. We have public health issues that are addressed to race-related issues. I think, aside from having the hospitals stop throwing out individuals that should be in the hospital and taken care of and supported, we as a community of people have to start reaching out to one another and caring for each other a little more. There are some things as far as caring for the other, that you can't seek external solutions for internal problems. And the internal problem here is that we as a people have to look out for one another after we have the agencies and after we have the homes and facilities to look after individuals with the mental health problem and invest in it. We have to look out for one another. That's how we would approach it and further expand the support for them. Thank you.
The next question will be for Jordan Wright. How will you keep public safety accountable?
Public safety has been something that I've been working on for the better part of the past 6 months, being that in my work with the Chief of Staff for Councilmember Salam, he is the chair of the Public Safety Committee. I've had the pleasure of working with folks, our law enforcement officials, understanding what their problems are, what they're seeing in the community, and holding them accountable, because it's important that we see that, we have officers in our community, and, it's unfortunate, but the bad ones often overshine the good ones. And I've seen a lot of good officers in our community that are doing right by us, that are working with us to make sure that our community is safe. And obviously it's important because when we have a problem, we're calling on the police officers. I was happy to be a part of a press conference where we said that the Councilmember Salam and Councilmember Botcher co-prime legislation to mandate a social worker be in every NYPD precinct in the city. I think that's a great start to make sure that our public safety is done by public safety advocates, people who have that best interest at heart as social workers, people who have a certain lens on things that aren't just trying to arrest folks, but are trying to find the problem. I think that's key, because we're not going to send a police officer to a burning building. Why would we send a police officer to a mental health crisis? Thank you.
Okay, I just want to take this time to thank our moderators, Kyrie, Basil, and Tyler, who also double as our timekeeper. And to deliver our closing notes, I'd like to invite Peggy Shepard, founder and executive director of We Act for Environmental Justice.
It's great to see you all. I'm so glad you all came out to show your concern for the representation for our district, because we haven't had the greatest representation. And for those of us who live west of St. Nicholas, nobody who ever had this seat ever came over to our community west of St. Nicholas Avenue. So that's one of the reasons I ran as Democratic district leader. So I served as district leader for 8 years. I understand everything you all are doing. I've run for this seat as well. So again, I understand what you all are going through, and I feel for you, because I know running is a lot of work. But the most work is those of us who are here, because without the advocacy, it doesn't matter what they're doing. Without the advocacy, they can't do the things that you're asking them to do. And I know that because, we worked for 8 years under the Koch administration to get that sewage treatment plant working well. And David Dinkins came through and said, we're going to fix this. He gave $55 million to fix it. And he gave a $1.1 million environmental benefits fund for West Harlem. That's what advocacy does. When you see every bus now, it says hybrid. Well, why do you think that happened? That was an 18-year campaign that we worked on with the Columbia School of Public Health to do the research on air quality and asthma and our kids, air quality and our seniors. And guess what we also found out? More Black people died of COVID because they lived in air polluted communities. 2 Harvard studies have shown that. So again, one thing I've always understood, it's not enough to fix one problem and then go back to what you're doing. We have to institutionalize advocacy in a community like this. Because when you go around the city and you see other neighborhoods, you can directly link their benefits to their level of advocacy. So it's up to all of us here to make these people do what they need to do, and to get some of those state legislators who aren't doing what they need to do. We've got to make sure that we are letting them know how we feel, that we're educating, and that we're going up there and doing our lobby days. So we all need you all to get on that bus and go up to a lobby day and tell our elected officials what we need. And I just want to close by saying that I chaired the New York City Environmental Justice Advisory Board, and it just came out, New York City came out about 3 weeks ago with a citywide environmental justice report. I ask all of you to go online and look at this report, because it will give you the 10 top neighborhoods for every problem in this city, whether it's waste and garbage, whether it's air quality, whether it's toxics. It will give you the neighborhoods that are most impacted. It's an incredible advocacy tool that all of us can use. And I also ask everyone here to take a look at it, because again, this was a report by the city using city data. And I must say, I am shocked at how good this report is. So it's a great tool for all of your advocacy, and please take a look and be a part of that. So I wish everyone here good luck. Thank you for coming out. And again, you've got to talk to all these people and tell them your concerns. And there are going to be many more of these, and it's going to take you coming out. So again, thank you. Great to see you all. Great to meet some new folks. Great to see my Basil Patterson guy. I knew his father. Yeah, we thought Basil Patterson was going to run for mayor. We did this big event, Bill Lynch and so David Davis, and all of us thought that he might run, but now we've got another Basil. So we'll have to see what you're going to do. All right. So thank you all and good night. Thank you. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Not good night yet.
Okay, so one of the candidates, please, can you give a quick 1-minute closing statement? Pass it down. Okay, we won't start with you. Jordan.
My pleasure. Thank you so much to the Harlem community for coming out for this. Thank you, WEAC, for hosting Marcus meets Malcolm, NAACP Mid-Manhattan Branch. It means a lot for me to be here right now, to stand on this, sit on the stage with so many great candidates, and again, means the world to me. My name is Jordan Wright, and I've stated my case for you all day. I've been a part of this community for a very long time, member of the community board, work for the city council member, and I look forward to serving on a different level with the city council member and our other partners in government. I really am excited to be able to be here, to be able to run for this seat. It means a lot to me. You can learn more about me on my website. That's wrightforharlem.com. That's Wright, my last name, WRIGHT, the number 4, harlem.com. Thank you so much. My name is Jordan Wright. Hope I can have your vote.
All right, thank you all so much for being here and sitting here for 2 hours. It's been a while. It's been an honor talking to all of you. My name is Maria Ordonez, and you've heard that I'm fighting for our community. I'm fighting for housing, for education, for healthcare, and for all of us. So we have a voice in the assembly. And we have an opportunity this upcoming June 25th, and if you go early, June 15th to 23rd, to make change in Harlem, to make sure that we have progressive leadership. I am the only progressive candidate that has been endorsed by the New York Progressive Action Network, Tenants Path, and Citizen Action, and we are making change possible in Harlem. Together, we can make it happen, because I believe in people power. I believe that housing is a human right. I believe healthcare is a right, not a privilege, and I believe in education for all, because together, we can make it happen. And you can check me out at mariaordonezny.com. That's my name, Maria, ORDONEZNY.com. Check it out, and let's fight for Harlem together. Let's fight for a united Harlem. Thank you.
Harlem, we are at a critical crossroads, and you all have a very important choice to make on June 25th. Are we going to continue and extend the life of a political machine that has not served our community? Or are we going to step into a new direction? A direction that leads us to a promised land of truly affordable housing, comprehensive health care for our mothers, for our seniors, real economic opportunities for our working families, for our young professionals, world-class education for our young people. This is what is at stake in this election. And you all are the ones that are going to decide this. Not any outside organizations that don't represent our community, not any real estate developers, not any endorsements from old politicians. It's about you, each and every single one of you. You have the power. And I'm inviting you to join me on our mission. Our campaign slogan is Harlem for the many, not the few, because we're committed to building a Harlem that works for every single one of us, not just the few who benefit from a broken political system. So once again, I want to thank you all for taking the time to learn about me and my campaign. Our website is joshuaclennon.com. Please cast your ballot for Joshua Clennon on June 25th. Thank you all. God bless Harlem.
Harlem, I am asking for your vote on June the 25th. Again, I am the only candidate who has not federal government experience, not city government experience, but state government experience, who has worked for a state senator for this district that covered the 70th Assembly District. I have drafted legislation and created legislation. I have a master's in legal studies and a Juris Doctor degree. I am qualified for the position. I have helped our seniors stay in their homes. I have helped against senior centers from closing during COVID time. I have helped our small mom and pop businesses become MWBE certified, and I will continue helping our small mom and pop businesses becoming MWBE certified. I have helped organizations like Harlem Advocates for Seniors get the funding that they need. This is a state elected official position, and I am the only candidate who has worked in state government, and I will hit the ground running and continue to hit the ground running because I've already been in the position. Thank you.
To everyone here, I would say thank you. Very talented candidates here. And I just want to say to you, this is a unique moment. I remember Frantz Fanon, he's a civil rights leader from Martinique. He said, every generation out of relative obscurity has a mission to either accept it or reject it. I accept that responsibility because the time has come that we change the direction in this community. I am a lawyer that works for the United States Department of Justice. I'm a former adjunct professor. I defended 71 small businesses in this district for 5 years for free. I also a former Block Association president, and I'm your brother. I'm gonna open myself up to this community as I have been, and I'm asking you to give me an opportunity to represent you with some distinction, honesty, and sincerity, and to bring income-targeted housing to this district and a full-on, state-of-the-art, federally funded film and television industry. Craig Schley, I'm running for New York State 70th Assembly District. I ask that you vote for me on June 25th. Thank you very much.
We would love to thank all of the partner organizations, We Act, Marcus Meets Malcom, Mount Morris Park Community Improvement Association, NAACP Mid-Manhattan Branch. So yes, you're right here, Kendall. So we just want to say thank you to everyone that has come out. We want to thank all of the candidates, and we want to really thank everyone for really honoring the community agreement, because I know sometimes it gets a little challenging, but thank you very much, candidates, for doing that. We really, really appreciate that. And this is what we want to see more in Harlem. We want to see civility and really show our brilliance, which is what's on display tonight. So thank you. And we want to say thank you to the committee. Pamela, I cannot tell you enough. I know you had enough of us. But thank you very much for hanging in there with us.
I don't know his name though, but the brother that's standing up right here, he was an MVP. He helped with the cushions. He helped with all the setup and stuff too. So thank you guys. Thank y'all for coming.
Can I get all the moderators to come up so we can take a quick picture with everyone? Tressie?